Alors, bonsoir et bienvenue dans notre tout premier Facebook Live de la saison. Je suis Timmy, la coordonnatrice de la galerie McClure du Centre des Arts Visuels à Montréal. Du 4 au 26 septembre, nous sommes heureux d'accueillir l'exposition Métaphore, Métamorphose, commissariée par Louise Bloom, réunissant le travail de 23 artistes graveurs, tous faisant partie du centre d'artistes autogéré L'Atelier de Lille à Val-David. Le centre soutient la recherche, la création et la production dans le domaine de l'art imprimé. Quelques mots sur la commissaire. Donc, Louise est une artiste, éducatrice, écrivaine et commissaire. Elle détient un baccalauréat avec une majeure en beaux-arts de l'Université Concordia. Elle vit et travaille en tant qu'enseignante à Maureen Heights et Val-David au Québec. Elle s'intéresse à la narration comme véhicule de transformation et son dernier projet, Métaphore, Métamorphose, est une exposition qui souligne et exprime la myriade de préoccupations culturelles de notre époque. Les œuvres, tant individuelles que collectives, usent de la métaphore pour questionner la crise environnementale mondiale, les bouleversements économiques et sociaux, l'aliénation spirituelle à un moment où les fissures de notre monde sont exposées au grand jour, dû à une pandémie et où les habitants de la planète réclament des changements. Louise a exposé pendant plus de 30 ans au Canada, aux États-Unis et en Europe. Donc ce soir, j'ai l'honneur d'avoir avec moi la commissaire ainsi que 3 des artistes participants, Paul Ballard, Adeline Rognon et Elisabeth Wallet. Tous 4 vont vous présenter plus en détail le concept de l'exposition. La discussion se fait en anglais et en français et il est possible de poster vos questions en français et en anglais. À la fin de la discussion, suivra une période où les artistes pourront répondre aux questions. Mais avant de donner la parole aux artistes, voici un court extrait des œuvres de Métaphore, Métamorphose, exposées à la galerie McClure.
Hi. Good evening to everybody who's joining here over Facebook Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Louise Bloom, curator of the exhibition Métaphore, Metamorphose, and it opens tonight at the McClure Gallery here in Westmount in Montreal. And as you can see behind me, I'm speaking to you live from the exhibition site. But before I speak about the project, I have to extend a few very, very important thank yous. First and foremost to Timmy Truong, the gallery coordinator, who has been instrumental in helping me put this together, so instrumental. And René Duval, the director of exhibitions, and Catherine Deschamps, who's providing the technical genius that brings us all together tonight. She is the communications director. Thank you, all of you. Very appreciated. I'm extremely happy to be here at the McClure. And also, I need to thank my colleagues and exhibiting artists from the Atelier de Lille, Elizabeth Wally and Adeline Rognon, who helped me with the installation design as well as the physical install. And also Carolyn Gagnon and Paul Ballard, who both supported on technical and installation aspects as well. I also need to thank Steve Friedman for continual assistance in all things tech and computers. And of course, many thanks to Kiki and Panasiades artist and writer, for helping me to articulate the initial concept for this exhibition series. Most important, the 23 participating artists whose work is on view here. You're all amazing. Thank you so much. And to Nicole Deschamps, the skilled and deeply committed videographer whose film captures the behind-the-scenes production of the artworks here behind me tonight. I'm also taking this opportunity to thank the Atelier de Lille as a whole entity, the atelier that I consider in itself a companion and a friend. The Atelier de Lille is a center for artists that supports research, creation, and production in printed art. Through an interdisciplinary approach and innovative means, the artist participates in the evolution of printmaking and its positioning in contemporary art. The studio in Val David, where I have lived part-time for many years and worked, is a service to professional artists and to those artists that are working towards professionalization. And the artists that are working towards professionalization always have a great camaraderie with the other artists who are very well expressed in their printmaking disciplines. It's an absolutely beautiful place to work. I hope you can visit us there sometime as well. So this project was actually conceived over 5 years, but it wasn't manifested till last summer. The first iteration of the installation was included as a part of a wide-ranging exhibition in Val David known as Travers. And this exhibition featured works by the artists of Atelier de Lille. This particular exhibition, the one that we are opening tonight, at McClure, represents the second iteration of the project. And it includes twice as many works as the first show and is a testament to the driving premise, metamorphosis. The idea behind Métaphore, Metamorphose was to enlist print artists to engage with the transformative power of metaphor. We're talking here about metaphor continually. The works, both individually and collectively, use metaphor to reflect on pressing contemporary issues. And as we come together at a distance tonight, unusually, over social media for the first time from McClure, in the middle of a pandemic, as we all know, we're all more familiar with the ever deep uncertainty and upheaval that we face. People the planet over are experiencing social, economic, racial, and spiritual alienation and are crying out loud for change. Oftentimes, art is a way to spur conversation, bridge divides, and inspire ideas and possibilities for change. My hope is that many of you will be able to experience the exhibition virtually, but more so in person. It's really an exquisite installation. And I hope that it will become a space for reflection and inspiration during these difficult times. So I want to talk about print because central to the idea for the show is the practice of printmaking and its power as a medium or a tool for communication and change. I've been working as an artist essentially my entire life, and I first encountered printmaking at university in the 60s, but it wasn't until 1987 that I started to experiment and commit to printmaking really in earnest. In 1987, I broke open an old belief system that I couldn't, and I decided that I could. The truth about printmaking, which many people may not know, is that it's very, very geeky. It really is geeky. It's highly technical, it's rigorous, and it takes incredible amounts of planning and mental energy, and you're constantly working on an image that's going to appear always in the reverse. And like most art production, you are in a constant conversation and negotiation with the medium. It can be very, very difficult and very challenging at times. But the magic is that it's also invariably produces something you didn't quite plan or expect. Printmaking is truly alchemical. And paper itself is actually alive and incredibly responsive. So, depending upon the pressure you apply, the ink quality, the type of paper, even the weather forecast or the barometric pressure that day, there are always some happy and sometimes not so happy accidents. And these occurrences can force you to adjust to the unexpected. The medium of printmaking teaches you to change your expectations at every turn. It can be compared to cooking, except I think that with cooking, you're somehow always have a little bit more control than you do for printmaking. In other words, so I'm going to say this differently, change or metamorphosis are inherent to the very process of printmaking, which is part of why I wanted to use this medium to explore this particular theme. I had two other major inspirations. One was the 6th century Japanese Emaki hand scrolls, which are a historical forerunner for printmakers and printmaking, and kind of an iteration of poster art, which we were familiar with either as propaganda or as film publicity, advertising in city streets, where individual images are posted on walls and gain power through repetition. So part of Metaphor, Metamorphose, part of the exhibition has to do with this particular power through repetition. The possibility of wallpapering, which we did, an entire space with scrolls and scrolls of different people's works to amplify the individual voices and make a larger collective statement was very, very empowering and very exciting to me. I also wanted to say that I'm a big fan of using constraints and limitations to drive creativity and a new way of seeing or a new way of doing. So my ask or my request of the 23 artists, although it was very straightforward, it was not simple. I wanted them to use Baika or shoji natural paper, and in limited dimensions, 12 inches by 24 to 60 inches, and employing a palette of just gray, red, and black, all to create metaphors for survival. And also I asked them that they produce an edition of 7. The installation was assembled by pinning the works end to end and above and below. And as you might be able to see when you come to the exhibition, the splicing together of the individual artworks in this way creates an immersive effect. It's an immersion in an environment that invites people to hold diverse and multiple perspectives at once. The installation is both metaphor and metamorphosis. And built into the very premise of the show is the idea that the installation can expand and evolve. So because it's made up of a variety of smaller pieces to create the whole, it can expand or contract according to the exhibition space available. In this way, the very design of the installation itself becomes a metaphor for the show's central preoccupation. I'd like to mention, in essence, the subject of this exhibition is change. And as we are living during a period of restriction and limitation, I urge you to endure peacefully and to appreciate as much as possible sitting with change as it arises. As I have learned through the art practice about constraints and limitations, limitations and constraints force us into creating or finding creative solutions. And as we've been told before, necessity is the mother of invention. So I also want to talk to people who are planning to visit. The exhibition stands as an educational experience, as well as, with the inclusion of the video, an intimate demonstration of the various techniques. The video is quite astounding. I also want to say that we created a booklet that includes a reproduction of image, dimension, and medium of all the works, as well as a text that the artists have written as a reflection of their own creation. Often these reflections are poetic and extremely heartfelt, and they tend to reveal the inner mental state of the artist while at his work. So I'm encouraging you, because the booklet itself is another doorway to your understanding of the works. I encourage you, when you come to visit the exhibition, to carry the booklet around with you and consult the booklet and as you look at the works. Thanks, everyone. We will make the effort to answer questions as they arise. And I'm now going to turn the mic over to Adeline Ragnon, but first we're going to see her particular image, that the exhibition itself. To us now about her experience with the exhibition. Hi, Adeline.
Hey, hi, Louise.
I'm presenting Adeline Ragnon to all of you.
Okay, I did like to experiment with you because I made my two images. There are two, in fact, and I did it during the COVID, and I had no idea of what to do. Then I was very happy to be compelled to use black, red, and gray, and this sort of paper. That was good for me. And I had many ideas that come in a very natural way. And the first one is to pay tribute to people who left when during COVID and alone. alone, surrounded by people with masks, just faces with masks, and the image of the logo of mask, I do like it, and I repeat it like an obsession. The second one, I wanted to talk about angel. Angel for me is ultimate metamorphosis in the way they are supposed not to exist, but they exist in our mind. In it's a fiction, and it's a promise of another world. We can prove or not. It's not scientific, but we can imagine that. And yes, the world changed, and human being have no choice to change because they are alive. Birth, childhood, adult, and then getting old if we have chance, and after it's finished and it starts for other people. That's a big change too. And yes, the world changed and it always has changed. And yes, sometimes it's terrific, but it's like that. And I feel je me sens pas trop angoissée parce que c'est comme ça. Et puis voilà, si on meurt, on meurt. Et puis il y a autre chose après où il n'y a rien, mais il y en a d'autres. Donc dans mon travail, il y a beaucoup d'espoir. Et l'ange, pour moi, c'est porteur d'espoir. Donc c'est pour ça que mes deux gravures, qui finalement en font qu'une, s'appellent le dialogue des anges. Et le travail techniquement, j'ai fait ça à un moment où en plus j'étais blessée. Alors j'ai utilisé des découpages, j'ai utilisé du caoutchouc, fait que des choses que j'ai dû sortir de ma zone de confort. Et puis aider aussi à l'installation, c'était un big challenge. And I did like that very much, and I want to thank you everybody for that.
I want to thank you, Adeline, for that as well. And just to mention that the mounting of an exhibition and the installation especially is another huge creative endeavor. And so thank you again for your support and your opinions.
Ok, ça fait plaisir.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, next we're going to see for a short moment the work of Paul Ballard. So we're going to have a 30-second clip of the work that he was in this installation. And I might also mention that Paul, Adeline, and Elizabeth Wally have other works in the gallery. We have 5 artists, also Olga Magnano, and Caroline Gagnon, who have contributed to this wonderful show. Let's see Paul's work. Hi, Paul. I'd like to introduce Paul Ballard to all of you. What have you to say?
Okay, this, I began this work, it was a really hard winter. And many adventures with potholes on the 117. So that's behind. And then in front is a burnt crepe, which is one of my cooking experiences. And then to the right and left, 2 disasters, Mr. Trump and the guy from Korea. And in the center is a workshop, a mirror image, and it was from the period of Gutenberg. And always in printmaking, you have the mirror. And little German quotation marks to put it in the context. The title is a reference to Martin Luther. The technique, well, these were laser engravings on plexiglass, and also on wood. My idea when I create is to bring everything from history to a point. So you're walking through this environment. And to make everything present. The red and the black, well, I've used this before. And red is the color of Adam. It's biblical. And black is the, well, is the burnt earth. So I use these two things as a, as a counterpoint. And I've used this subject of irony before. Yeah, so that's essentially it.
Well, I'm inspired, as I always am inspired by you. Paul and I have worked together at the studio for 33 years, and his deep, mysterious, and ironic nature is something that nourishes me. So, thank you, Paul, very much for presenting this, and come and see the work. Paul has a beautiful new work in the entrance gallery of the McClure, and I'd be very, very pleased for all of you to come and enjoy that. Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, and finally, we're going to speak with Elizabeth Wally. Her work, which we're going to see shortly, is called California Black Walnut. It's 12 inches by 60 inches, and it appears often in our installation. So, hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
I present Elizabeth Wally to all of you who are watching.
Thanks, Louise. And I just want to thank you for being such a committed and amazing curator and organizer and doing this for all the members of the SNA. And I would also like to thank the staff at the Visual Arts Center. It was really wonderful having the chance to work with you at this time and inspiring as well. I don't know if you showed my pictures, but
We did.
Oh, okay. So I just want to say a few words about. I have two pictures in the show. One is out in the front, and it's a large scroll-like screen print, about 2 feet by 5 feet, called White Pine, and the other one is the California Black Walnut, which you've seen. And mostly I want to just talk a little bit about their relationship to the title, to the theme of the show, Métaphore, Metamorphose. You know, we all understand those terms intuitively, metaphor and metamorphosis. They're part of the everyday way that we experience and interpret being alive in the world. We interact and engage through our senses, with the material environment, and then we reflect and we conceptualize about the meaning of those interactions, you know, our response to the world. So with my two pictures, the white pine is a metaphor. It's inspired by an individual tree that's grown forever on a hillside in North Heights, near my house. But in the picture, in the print, it's timeless. It's outside time. It's a symbol. And it represents meanings and ideas that are traditionally associated with the pine, such as, depending on the culture, many cultures have meanings for the pine. Things like longevity, virtue, winter, solitude, endurance, immortality. All these things that people have felt when they engage with a white pine. And then on the other hand, the California plastic helmet is really, for me, an example of that image is an example of metamorphosis. You know, it's ravaged by wildfire. It's an individual tree, a specific tree that's been transformed into something like a sculpture, a monument, or a monument that speaks to the and the powers of the natural world that we have no agency over. So the way I designed the print had to do with the fact that one was a metaphor and one was a metamorphosis. The pine, the metaphor, is very stylized, idealized. I made harmonious patterns based on the tree's organic structure. Especially, I thought of the rhythmic curves of its branches and the 5 needle clusters that are characteristic of the pine. And this use of patterning suggests that it's not a real, that it's the idea of it with metaphoric association and ideas like so. And then the walnut is done different. I wanted to communicate the feeling of change and transformation within a moment. And so I looked carefully at the pictures that my friend in California sent me, that and in the image I included its crooked, specific charred limb, and I created a poster like it, rather like what Louise was referring to, as a way to communicate a unique event at a specific time and place, almost with a sense of urgency. 200-year-old walnut, roof on fire, California. And as others have mentioned, and I won't repeat, but for me as well, the whole exhibition, as well as the individual, express this power of metaphor and metamorphosis. The individual pieces come together and they create an organic whole that is bigger than the sum of parts and reflect both our capacity to live in the moment and experience change and step outside the moment into a kind of timeless realm of metaphor. And I think the exhibition is, in fact, while it's a metamorphic process, it is a metaphor for how individuals can come together and create a community that can inspire and support in these very difficult times. So thank you, Louise, and thank you all the other artists who made it possible.
Elizabeth, thank you for sharing all of that and for underlining the importance, in fact, of the show and the production of this show. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
So I think we're coming to the end of our broadcast because I'm not sure whether we've received any questions or not. And so I'm just going to check. We have lots and lots of congratulations and very few questions. Maybe we were very articulate. I think all of us together really expressed the importance of art, print, and its relationship to change and metamorphosis. So I'm going to say thank you now. I'm wondering if Timmy has anything to share with us at the moment. I'm not hearing you.
Louise.
Yes.
Merci beaucoup. Merci Louise et merci à tous les artistes d'avoir joué le jeu et d'avoir participé à notre premier Facebook Live de la saison. Ce que je souhaite ajouter également, c'est que dans le cadre des Journées de la Culture à Montréal, nous proposons un atelier gratuit de gravure sur papier Baïka, un atelier qui se donnera le 26 septembre à 14 h en présence de la commissaire Louise et également de l'artiste Adeline. Et donc, c'est sur inscription. Il reste quelques places, donc n'hésitez pas à vous inscrire. Le papier Baïka est le même papier dont ont utilisé les artistes exposants. Donc, pour rappel, l'exposition a lieu du 4 au 26 septembre et nous vous attendons tous avec impatience. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Et à très bientôt.
À très bientôt. Merci tout le monde. Thank you everyone. And we'll now be leaving the studio, but we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.